Ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday. We're live. It's another episode of Monday Night Mic'd. I am your host, John Quinn. We have a packed show for you tonight. If you missed the draft last week, don't worry 1 second because we got interviews with majority of our draft class. We couldn't squeeze everybody in, but I think we got 7 people lined up for tonight. Interviews with a ton of guys, including our 2 first-rounders, Leighton Carruthers and Nathan Drapeau. We'll hear from Simon Hughes, Michael Daddio, Davide Patella, Duncan Ramsay, New Brunswick owns Hunter Gartley. I'm losing my breath. There's so many guys on tonight's show. It's so packed. And then we'll speak with team president and GM Trevor Georgie as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see a couple of my day ones here. William Villeneuve in the chat, never misses an episode. Zachary Boutillier. We don't get along every day, but he's here watching along because he wouldn't miss an episode. Shout out as well, Bob McDevitt tuning in. Good to see you, Bob, as well, guys. Make sure to share the link to the stream tonight. We want everyone tuning in. If you can't make tonight's episode, well, you're not watching it right now, so what I'm about to say doesn't really make sense because you're not here to hear it, but the episode will be on YouTube as well. If you do miss any portion of it tonight, you can watch it on Facebook. It'll go up right after it airs, and as well, we'll put it on YouTube sometime later tonight, so you can share that around as well. My goodness, there's so many guests tonight. I can't believe we lined them all up. It's going to be a terrific show, guys. Get your questions into the chat if you have any as well. We also want to hear your suggestions of guests for future episodes. I know we have some good alumni lined up as well as current players who are going to be on the show and update us on their off season, and I'm sure everyone is itching to go for the upcoming season as well. The next big deadline or event, I guess I should say, coming up on the calendar is the CHL import draft. Every team gets 2 picks. This is European players who come over to North America to play, so all 6 teams from the CHL are in that draft. Off the top of my head, the Sea Dogs pick somewhere around 15th and somewhere after that as well, 74th or something like that. Don't do math on the air, they always say, but stay tuned to that. It's coming up June 30th is the date for the CHL import draft. Without further ado, I think we are ready for our very first guest of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be joined now by the number 3 overall pick in the 2020 QMJHL draft, the first overall pick for your St. John Sea Dogs, Leighton Carruthers. Leighton, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We had a little chance to catch up here before the show and have kind of our first meeting, but I wanted to say welcome to the team as well as to the show. You've now been drafted to the Sea Dogs for about a week's time. How's your first week been as a new Sea Dog?
It's pretty jam-packed. I mean, the first couple of days was pretty exciting. It's kind of calmed down now, and it's time to put the work boots on and go to work.
Go to work. Indeed. Now, you shared a pretty cool video that was posted by the QMJHL, and we shared it on the show last week as well as on our social channels of the moment you were actually drafted, and you could definitely see a lot of excitement from you and your family. Can you talk about kind of that day or that week leading up? Obviously, a pretty stressful time for everyone involved, but you seem to be pretty elated to hear your name called, and especially to St. John.
Yeah, I mean, it was all up in the air before. I mean, I wasn't really expecting to go in the 3 slot, but I was ranked 11th, and I kind of had a little bit of an idea when some of the picks were called, but it was very electric. My parents were extremely proud of me. My brother was extremely proud of me. He wasn't there, unfortunately, but he called me that night, and he was extremely proud. And I've never really seen my dad cry that much, and it was pretty special to see him. So it shows how proud he is and stuff like that. So.
Wow, that's awesome. And speaking of your dad, there's actually a bit of a connection there that you were well informed about St. John even before being drafted here.
Yeah, so my dad refereed in the queue for I don't know how many years, probably 14 or 15 years, and every game, if there was pucks left over, he would bring some home, and one of the first ones he ever brought home was actually a St. John Sea Dogs puck. And I remember waking up one of those mornings and going downstairs, and it was sitting there on the kitchen table. I mean, so I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the QMJHL rinks. I mean, I have been inside them, watching my dad referee. So it kind of gave us a little bit of a dream to look up to, and it's pretty amazing to hopefully realize it one day.
And you played your most recent season with the Halifax Max, kind of a powerhouse at the midget level, and they produce a ton of Q talent. Can you talk about your most recent season there?
Yeah, it was a great season. I mean, we started off very fast and kind of went into a little bit of a slump, but managed to pull our socks up and pull it together through at the end of the season when it really counted and mattered most. And I thought we probably could have gone all the way if this pandemic would have never hit close to home. And but yeah, we were a very very hardworking, determined, skilled team. It showed at the end when we had all the trust in the world in each other. And, everyone had each other's backs, and it was really cool, really fun experience, and a great time.
And you personally seem to have a pretty great time on the score sheet. You popped off for 15 points in a shortened playoff run. Is there something about playoffs, or maybe that the idea that all the scouts were kind of had extra eyes on the team around this time of year that made you perform so much better?
I kind of got into a routine towards the end of the season that I kind of stuck with. I got my mind mentally there, and it worked for me, and that's what I stuck with. And then when I would get prepared for my games, I'd kind of envision myself on the ice and doing stuff. And then, playing in front of that many fans every game and smaller barns, it's a pretty cool experience when it's pretty electric, I should say. And yeah, it's so I think there was a little bit of an energy boost for all the boys, and it worked out in the end.
Worked out in the end, indeed. Now, we don't have any hard timelines in terms of when the season's starting. We're hoping for a kind of regular start or maybe just a slight delay. But what are kind of your goals after speaking with the team and trainers and coaches and staff and everyone? What are kind of your goals going into that first training camp?
Well, obviously, St. John's going to be a powerhouse next year and the next years to come. So, it's going to take a lot of work to earn my place there, which is something I'm willing to take on. And it starts now. The easy part was getting there, but now you really got to earn it. And we had a little phrase in our dressing room band that said "earn, not given," and it's something that you got to live by, and nothing's given. Got to earn it. So that's what we're focused on right now.
And before you show up to camp and everyone kind of gets their first look at you in Sea Dog's colors, what can fans expect from your style of play? How would you describe yourself as a player?
I'm a two-way, hardworking power forward who can make plays at both ends of the ice and put the puck in the net. If there's a guy open who's in a better scoring position, he gets the puck. And same, like a give and go play. I'm a fast player, and I finish all of my checks. So that's kind of what you can expect from me.
And Leighton, you kind of have the benefit of playing in one of the bigger hubs in Atlantic Canada for hockey in the Halifax area. And I always remember talking with guys like Matthew Highmore, and he says, like, oh yeah, in the summer I get invited out and I'm playing with Nathan McKinnon or other kind of NHL stars, other guys maybe at the Q level or maybe a higher university level or maybe even NHL that you get the chance to train with in the off season or different camps or just kind of pick up games on a weekend at the local rink.
Yeah, I got the chance a couple years ago to skate with Brad Marchand. That was very special. He's an incredibly hard worker, and it showed what it takes to really get there. It's good to see how they work and try to relay that to yourself. Because it never comes easy. And you ask any of them, it starts from the garage and it work your way out and you work your way up, and that's kind of the way I saw things. And I'm still waiting to see what happens this summer with skating, but hopefully I can get out with some people that can really push me and hopefully get me to that next level.
Well, fantastic. It sounds like you're well on your way to that next level. Leighton, congratulations on being drafted and welcome to the team. And I can't stress enough that we're so excited to have you with us, and we can't wait to see you at that first training camp.
Thank you.
That was Leighton Carruthers. Very impressive young man. Again, can't wait to see him at training camp and see what he can do. Guys, moving on to our second of our first round picks. He went 15th overall. I believe he's ready. Fans, it's my pleasure to welcome to the show and welcome to the Sea Dogs. He was the 15th overall selection in the 2020 QMJHL draft, and the second player picked to the Sea Dogs in 2020. Please join me in welcoming Nathan Drapeau. Now, Nathan, welcome to the show.
Hello.
So Nathan, we saw the reaction video last week. I shared it live on the show, and then we posted it on social as well. The Q had posted, and then we saw one as well for Leighton. But I was kind of telling you before this, I really loved your reaction of being drafted to the Sea Dogs, and it seems like you had a really authentic sort of moment. What was that like, hearing your name on that Friday night?
It was a little bit different than the other year, but it was really exciting. I waiting for that during a lot of the year, and so it was very great.
Very great indeed. Now, so for people who haven't that don't follow Quebec midget games, how would you describe yourself as a player? What kind of player are you?
I'm a two-way player. No matter what you have to do on the ice, I can do it, and no matter what the time, like the scoreboard or that, I can do it on the ice.
For sure. Now, you're going to have some pretty great mentors on this team, players like Jeremy Poirier and William Villeneuve, Charlie DeRoche, Christopher Innes, Gail McCallum, like it's pretty top level D in the years coming forward. What do you know about them as players, and are there any guys that maybe you look up to or kind of model your game after?
They are a really good player. I think it will be good to me to take experience with that type of defenseman. I think it will be good for my game for next year when they leave the Sea Dogs syndrome.
And you mentioned to me before we went live here that your brother also played in the QMJHL. He played with Rimouski and with Quebec. Did he give you any tips for draft day or for starting out your Q career?
He said to me to don't look at the off ice during the game, just to be concentrated and always work hard and stuff like that.
Those are good words to share from your older brother. I'm sure he'll be following your career going forward. Any big plans for the off season, Nathan? Are you back in the gym? You got a plan kind of leading up to training camp?
Now I'm back in the gym. I do my training and I wait for the arena to be back in the ice. I'm just waiting that I can go in St. John to the camp and do the team and do that.
Yeah, this is probably the longest you've ever gone without skating in your life, I would imagine, this past 2 or 3 months. That's got to be stressful. Well, Nathan, congratulations on being drafted in the first round, and we're excited to have you in St. John and to see what you can do come training camp, and good luck in the off season, and we can't wait to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was Nathan Drapeau, drafted 15th overall to your Sea Dogs, our second pick in the 2020 draft. Guys, you may notice at the bottom of the video screens for the different players, they do have their Twitter handles on there. If you're on Twitter, definitely drop them a message. Welcome them to the team. Welcome them to St. John. Share some of that famous St. John hospitality if you can. I'm sure they would love to hear from our fans. We're going to keep the show rolling. We have our next interview lined up, I do believe. Fans, it's my pleasure to be joined now by the 38th overall selection in the 2020 QMJHL entry draft. He was the 3rd Sea Dog selected in the draft from Stratford, PEI, Simon Hughes. Simon, welcome to the show and welcome to the team.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Have you ever had an introduction like that with your whole life explained in 20 seconds?
Not really, not yet, no.
It'll be the first of many, I promise you. So Simon, obviously a very exciting time for you, drafted into the QMJHL. Can you talk to me about the draft experience, that week leading up, the anticipation, obviously something you've been waiting for the past couple months as we get closer to the date, but how was it hearing your name called?
Yeah, just with the season ending early and everything that's going on in the world right now, you're waiting a lot longer than players usually wait for their draft year. So just you almost wanted it to kind of be over with, but you really wanted to get the whole experience. And yeah, going to St. John, I mean, I'm super thrilled and happy to be selected. So couldn't have went any better.
Now, did you have a kind of a drafts party, family all together watching it, or was it kind of subdued, just fingers crossed, waiting to hear your name called?
Yeah, I was just with my family, my mom and dad, and my three other brothers. So
Oh wow.
we're just waiting and refreshing the queue page on our phone, and then so I went to St. John, and we're all pretty happy.
And now, yeah, three other brothers. Are they hockey players as well?
Yeah, two of them are. My youngest one isn't. So
And now, are you the oldest of the four?
no, I'm the second oldest.
Second oldest, okay. And
Yeah.
is the older brother, did he play kind of Q level as well, or?
Not Q level, but he played on the PI Canada Games team
Oh,
in
cool.
2010 or 11. So yeah.
And that Canada Games team, you actually played on that team as well, correct?
Yeah, last year I did.
And how was that experience playing against kind of the top guys from all over the country?
Yeah, it was super cool. We had a lot of young guys on our team, and it was a good hockey experience as well. It's just an experience being a kid. I mean, going away from home, like in Alberta, it was really cool over there, and we got out to see other Team PEI, like the Ringette team or teams like that. So it was a really fun event.
Nice. Now, this past year in midgets, playing in Charlottetown, you had quite the season, 42 points in 38 games. Talk to me about that year and kind of how you felt you performed.
Yeah, I mean, just going into the season, we were a really young team. Some new coaching, like assistant coaches and stuff like that to our head coach, Luke Beck. And start of the year, it was a bit rough. I'm not gonna lie, we weren't winning too many games, but you look at like Moncton and Ice Jam, we went pretty far in those tournaments, and I think just we're all super close to each other, and we're kind of like brothers in a family. So that really helped coming down the stretch into playoffs.
Very cool. Now, being from the island, it's kind of a tight-knit hockey group, and we've had some pretty famous Islanders in the past. Spencer Smallman was on the show recently and talked about, although he was born in PEI, he sort of toes the line between being from New Brunswick and PEI, but for the matter of this conversation, we'll say he's a PEI guy. But is there anyone in the league or maybe a former Sea Dog from the island that you maybe look up to or kind of model your game after?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I watched a lot of the Islanders games. So my neighbor was actually Daniel Sprong. So
Oh, wow.
I really, like to watch his game a lot. So I was kind of right there, him going through the queue from 16-year-old to a 20-year-old. So I was really close to him, and I still text him and chat with him to this day. He's really good at giving me advice, and he actually FaceTimed me after I got drafted. He's the first person to call me. So
Oh, wow.
he really meant a lot to me. And other guys like the Philip Schlappiks and Cameron Kiley, I really liked his game too.
Yeah, Daniel Sprong and Schlappik, definitely names that Sea Dogs fans will recognize during the 2017 Cup run. That was some intense games against Charlottetown.
Yeah.
Coming up with your training camp, off-season training, all of that. Obviously, the training camp date is up in the air. But what are kind of your goals going into this next season?
Yeah, I mean, I want to have a big summer this year. I want to get bigger, faster, and stronger, and hopefully crack the lineup come camp time.
And for fans who haven't made it over to Charlottetown and checked out a game, how would you describe yourself as a player to people who haven't seen you before?
Yeah, I think I'm a fun player to watch. I like to score. I like to set up plays as well, and I think they're just hopefully gonna get to see someday someone who plays with a lot of energy and who likes to score and make people around him better, and just a dynamic playmaker.
Well, that's very exciting, Simon. Well, congratulations on being drafted to the Sea Dogs. Always great to have another upstanding maritime boy in the organization, and so we're thrilled to have you, and we can't wait to see you at training camp for the first time.
Yes, thank you very much.
No problem. Take care.
You too.
That was Simon Hughes. Next up, we do have our first and only goalie who was drafted. It's going to be Michael DeRazio is going to be joining us. Bit of a goalie myself. I've played in, now 3 of our Sea Dogs winter road hockey classics, and I'm 3-0. So Stefan Legion, I believe I defeated him, and Parker Van Buskirk, former goaltending star of the OHL's Sarnia Sting. I also have a winning record against him. So look at it. It's not on Elite Prospects. They don't really track that super closely, but I'm hoping that, I send an email a week and I'm hoping that eventually I do get on the website. But maybe we'll learn a little bit more about some real goaltending from our next guest. Fans, I'm joined now by the number 42nd overall pick in the 2020 QMJHL draft and the 4th overall member drafted to the Sea Dogs in that draft, Michael D'Orazio. Michael, welcome to the show and welcome to the organization.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. Michael, before I get into too much, I was in charge of kind of relaying information on who we had drafted to other staff members. We could all kind of put our brains together on plans and things going forward, and I sent along an Elite Prospects link, but it was to another Michael D'Orazio, who was, I think, 15 years older than you. So we were, it'd be weird if we drafted a 30-year-old, but is there any relation at all before I delve into the questions to the other Michael D'Orazio listed on Elite Prospects?
No, I'm not. I'm not sure who he is, but it's kind of weird. We both have the same last name, and he played in the OHL. I'm pretty sure. So
okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not the most common name, obviously. So I was curious if it was like an older brother or a cousin or uncle or something, but.
Yeah, no.
Long lost relative, I'm sure. And then the other ones, not to dwell, the whole 6 minutes won't be on your name, I promise. But immediately when we were drafted, you're a goalie, obviously, and people drew comparisons to Alex Dorio due to the D''O' of your last name.
Yeah.
Speaking about kind of Sea Dogs goalies, is there anyone kind of in the organization or famous goalies in the queue that maybe you model your game after or kind of look up to?
Yeah, in the queue, I like the goalie from Sherbrooke, Levi.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're both tall goalies, very athletic, flexible, quick goalies. I think he's a great goaltender in the queue, and I think he's very skillful and he makes those huge, big saves for his team when it counts. And
you mentioned being a tall goalie. Elite Prospects has you listed at 6'3". Have you grown at all since they last measured you? Yeah, I'm about 6'4", 6'5" about now, so I've grown a little, and I don't think size is just all I have. I think I'm very athletic. I've played a lot of sports when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So, R.I.P. your parents' grocery bill. Now, athletic guy. How would you describe yourself as a goalie? I mean, obviously, it's different for a goalie, and it's a lot of intricacies and stylistic things. But how would you say what would differentiate you from kind of other goalies in the league? Would you say? Yeah, I think, like I said, I'm not just a tall goalie. I'm very athletic. I think I get there on my feet. I'm a fast goalie. I have good tracking, and I can control my rebounds. I think I help my team out playing the puck behind the net, and just a good leader, helping out the team on the ice, and a goalie that most people like to trust. Very nice. And you played your most recent season at Shattuck St. Mary's. Some pretty famous people have gone through that program. Sidney Crosby, Jonathan Toews, just to name a few, and fellow Sea Dog Peter Reynolds as well. Can you talk about the season that you had at Shattuck and kind of maybe a little bit about that program? Yeah, I think Shattuck's a great program. They definitely helped me develop as a goaltender and as a player off the ice. I think it's great that they have a lot of times to get extra ice time and extra workouts with the coaches. It's super beneficial for my game. And, our season this year was great. We were on like a 30-game winning streak at one point. So, yeah, that was great. I thought we were a really good team. We bonded together. And, for sure, of course, it ended not the way we liked. But, I thought it was a great program at Shattuck and an amazing team this year. Now, you talk about a 30-game win streak. I'm a bit of a goalie myself. I play ball hockey and behind the arena on my off days with a couple coworkers, more or less the same level as you, I'm sure. But on a 30-game win streak, I know I'm definitely a mental player. But on a 30-game win streak, is that stressful or is that exciting? Like, okay, here's the next one. We're gunning for a record or 31 or whatever it is. Is that stressful for you? I mean, goalies always feel like the game is in their hands a lot of the time. Yeah, I wouldn't really say it's stressful just because I think I manage my stress really well. I think I focus on what I have to do. And, as a goalie, of course, I can't score. So I can control what I do, make the saves. And, just excited for if we win, that's great. If we lose, it's something to work on as a team. For sure. And going back to the draft last weekend, what was the kind of your anticipation level going into the draft, meetings you had? Talk about kind of that experience.
Yeah, I was super excited. St. John was the team that picked me up. I was waiting patiently, and my entire family and I were very excited when we saw my name. And, of course, I had a lot of teams I talked to, but I think St. John was a good opportunity and a great fit. So, it was a pretty stressful weekend last week, but it turned out great to become St. John at the end of the day.
Fantastic. Well, we are very excited to have you. Have you talked to our goaltending coach, Brian Fleming, at all about kind of off-season plans, training, things leading up to camp?
Yeah, I have. I had a little call with him just for some feedback and just to introduce myself. And I can't wait to meet him at the training camp. And definitely, if the COVID didn't restrict us, possibly getting some ice sessions with him.
For sure. And any goals kind of personally that maybe Brian helped you set or plans as you attend that first training camp?
Yeah, so definitely just making sure that you stay with a good diet, making sure, you keep your shape, stay strong, just being confident when you get into camp, and honestly, just keep working hard. That's it, really.
Oh, it sounds like at this rate you're going to show up to camp at about 6'9" and 230. So
Yeah.
you'll be easy to spot when you walk through the door, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, and we're highly anticipating your debut at training camp. Good luck with your off-season training, and we can't wait to meet in person.
Yeah, I can't wait either. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael. That was Michael Adorazio, the one and only goalie that was drafted to our Sea Dogs in the 2020 QMJHL entry draft. Reminder, guys, June 30th coming up. It's the CHL import draft. Sea Dogs will have 2 picks in that draft as well, and that'll kind of be the last event in the draft schedule before we open up the season, whatever that date may be, and then there's a smaller kind of trade period as well before the season opens, and then it gets into actual hockey, fingers crossed. So, guys, we still have 3 more players to get to, so I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get to our next interview. Fans, it's my pleasure to be joined now. He was drafted 59th overall in the 2020 QMJHL draft. He is now a member of the St. John Sea Dogs. Davide Patella. Davide, welcome to the show and welcome to the organization.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. We were talking a little bit before we went live here, and you mentioned you just got done a workout. How's the off-season training been going? Is it getting harder and harder to kind of be self-responsible and not be part of kind of team workouts and then going to a gym regularly?
Yeah, obviously it's harder. It's a lot different. You have to be committed and motivated to force yourself to get better. So I just try to do my best, try to get better every day, and yeah, it's definitely harder.
Definitely harder indeed. I feel the same pains. It's hard to just move the couch out of the way and do a YouTube video or something in my basement instead of heading to the gym. But how would you explain kind of your draft day experience? Was it a big family event? Was it stressful leading up to it? When you finally got your name called, was there a big celebration? Talk to me about that day.
Well, I was just with my godfather and my family, so we weren't that much. Obviously I was a bit stressed. I was a bit excited at the same time. When my name came out, it was a great feeling, something I never felt before, and it's a dream come true because getting drafted is very rare for someone to get drafted. So it was a great feeling, and yeah, it was a great day for my family and for me.
Now, people talk about kind of having inklings after certain meetings, etc., or like, I have a feeling I might go there. Did you have any ideas of where you may end up, or not that you have to say I was hoping I was going to go to this one team, but did you have the feeling that like, hey, I have a really strong connection with St. John? Yeah,
I felt that myself and St. John's, it was like a good choice. It was something I was looking forward to. I really liked the organization, so I was very extra excited when I got picked by them. And yeah, we had a good connection. The interviews went well, so it was a sign. I kind of knew I had a chance of getting drafted there.
A sign. I like that. I like that. So
Yeah.
for fans, our fans that aren't too familiar with you, how would you describe yourself as a player?
As a player, I'll describe myself as a power forward and like a two-way power forward, so could play offense and defense, and someone that likes to bring a lot to the team, like leadership. So I can make a lot of noise in a game.
Make a lot of noise.
So
I like that.
Yeah.
That'll endear yourself to fans of ours if you're a hard player. They like that here in St. John. Is there anybody you can think of in the queue, or not necessarily a Sea Dog, but maybe somebody you followed along that you might maybe look up to or compare yourself to or kind of model your game after?
Well, I don't really watch the queue, but someone in the NHL, probably like Jonathan Toews. I always looked up to him, the two-way forward, and a good leader. So I always looked up and he's my favorite player. He's also my idol. So I always looked up to him, and maybe a Blake Wheeler, a good power forward, and he's a good leader too. So yeah, those two players.
Now your most recent midget season, Laval, Montreal, Rousseau, Royale. How would you describe kind of your play throughout the season? How did you feel that you performed throughout the season and then into a shortened playoffs?
Throughout the season, I found I was a bit inconsistent. I could have done obviously better, but I finished off strong. I started off a bit weak, maybe because of confidence, new position too, and but I finished off strong. My confidence came back, and we ended off really well.
Fantastic. Now, in talking with the team after the draft, you meet kind of with all the coaches and training staff and everyone else. What were the kind of plans and things that they said they'd like to see from you before training camp starts up?
I haven't really contacted much the coaching staff and stuff, but
just some things that you're going to be working on, maybe heading into training camp.
Okay, well, probably my finishing, so my scoring touch, and my play management. So making the right decision at the right time.
Yeah. And what about some goals, training camp? I mean, we've talked to everyone tonight, and it's always kind of the same theme. We don't know when it's going to start, but hopefully it's sooner than later. But what are your goals heading into that first training camp, your first Q camp?
Obviously, make a name, make a mark, and hopefully get some looks at. Obviously, the goal is to make the team. So as a 16-year-old, it's going to be tough, but anything is possible. So just show up, make a lot of good things happen, so I can get good looks at.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on being drafted with the Q. Like you said, it doesn't happen to everyone, and it is a pretty big accomplishment. So pat yourself on the back for that one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome to the team, and we can't wait to meet you come training camp.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Good luck with the rest of your training, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was Davide Patella, guys. I really like the point he made there about just getting drafted is an accomplishment in itself. It's always hard to kind of keep in the moment and not look ahead to your first game or that first season or then the NHL draft or whatever it is. But just being drafted to a team in the QMJHL is an accomplishment itself. And also the flip side of that, not being drafted is not the end of the world. I mean, look at someone like Jordan Spence, who went undrafted and then comes in and wins Defenseman of the Year in the Q. So if you didn't get drafted in this year and you're watching this show, keep at it. It's just one day. It's not the rest of your life. So there's always going to be a second chance. We have 2 interviews remaining with players, and then we're going to get into team president and GM Trevor Georgie as well. So without further ado, we'll get into our next interview. Fans, I'd like to welcome to the show at this time and to the Sea Dogs, Duncan Ramsay. Duncan, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, Duncan, you're from Halifax, live in the Halifax area. How you been keeping up during this whole pandemic situation? Obviously, the draft was a big one on your calendar, but how you been ticking by the minutes before that?
Yeah, just trying to stay busy. Just trying to keep busy around the house, but not too much going on around here. It's just, just trying to stay busy, do whatever I can.
I see a lot of guys have kind of started back at training, and there's gyms and different places that are allowing kind of training via social distancing. Do you have a place locally you've been going to, or do you have something kind of set up at home?
Yeah, I got the gym's just opened up here, so I've been meeting with a guy every morning, and we've just been going at it early morning every day.
Nice. Now, you're drafted to the Sea Dogs last weekend. Talk to me about kind of that moment, that weekend, everything leading up to the draft. What was your experience like?
Yeah, it was definitely a neat experience. I mean, something you think about since you're 5 years old, and you watch those players play, and for it to finally become real and finally happen was definitely a dream come true, and it's something that I'll definitely remember for my whole life.
Now, did you have any specific teams? There's a bit of a loaded question. Obviously, we hope you say St. John, but were there kind of specific teams? Obviously, a lot of the Atlantic guys want to stay kind of in the Maritimes with one of those teams, and they have that, home team like the Mooseheads or something that you were going to. But what was the feeling of being drafted to St. John?
Yeah, St. John. I love my interviews with them. They were great, and when they called my name, it felt really good. And I saw my name pop up on the screen. I know it's a great city. It's got great fans. I've been to a few games in the past, and I loved it. So I'm definitely excited to see what can happen.
Now, you played your most recent season at Mount Academy. Can you talk about that program? Fans may not be familiar with that program. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's a fairly new program. It was really good to me this year. Great coaches, top-notch coaches. And they really put everything out there for the players. They give you lots of options, great development. So for me this year, it was really good, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to anybody else.
Fantastic. Now, for fans that don't that haven't had a chance to see you before, how would you describe yourself as a player?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm a big, smooth skating, skilled defenseman. I like to jump up in the rush from time to time, but I also know that I'm reliable on defense. I got a good active stick, and I play pretty much all situations.
That sounds like a couple of the defensemen on our team currently, and Jeremy Poirier, William Villeneuve, and Charlie DeRoche. I mean, St. John's kind of been a powerhouse, churning out some top-level defensemen in the past. Desprez, Beaulieu, Chabot, and now kind of our 3D that everyone talks about. Is there any of those guys that maybe you look up to, or you would model your game after?
Yeah, I think I play a lot like a William Villeneuve. He's very reliable. He plays a very good 200-foot game. He's responsible. All those qualities that I kind of model my game after. So I would definitely compare myself to that.
Very cool. He'll be happy to hear that. Now, I was talking with Leighton earlier, and everyone else kind of obviously training camp, everything else is up in the air right now, and we're very hopeful that things will get underway. But what are your goals coming into that first training camp with St. John?
I think just to have a good experience, enjoy the grind while I'm at it, and to take away a lot from the older players and stuff like that. So I think coming into first training camp, and obviously play well. So that's really the goal at this point, and I'm going to stick to it.
Stick to it. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Duncan, for your time. Good luck with your training this off season, and we can't wait to see you at training camp.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. That was Duncan Ramsay, guys. We have only one interview left, and it's a New Brunswick boy, one and only New Brunswick player that we drafted this year in the draft. And then following that interview with Hunter Gartley, we will have team president and GM Trevor Georgie as well, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Remember to follow all the players. You'll see their Twitter handled below and their video screens there. And give them a follow. Tell them welcome to St. John, and welcome them to the team as well. Up next, it's our final player interview. Here we go. Sea Dogs fans, it's my pleasure at this time to welcome to the show and to the team. He was the only player from New Brunswick drafted to the Sea Dogs in the 2020 QMJHL entry draft, all the way from Woodstock, I believe, but we'll get into that a little later. Hunter Gartley. Hunter, welcome to the show and welcome to the team.
Thank you. Great to be here.
We were just talking before you joined the interview, but you had a bit of a busy day, but a boring one. You're in the middle of driver's ed right now.
Yeah. Long days there in the classroom, but
Just when you think school is done, you're right back in the classroom.
I know,
envy you
right?
there. There's a lot of useful
Yeah.
information in that, so do pay attention. We want to make sure that you're being safe this summer when you're driving.
Exactly.
On to the exciting stuff, though. I do want to talk about your draft day experience. Obviously, you're a New Brunswick guy, being drafted to New Brunswick's team, we like to call ourselves. Talk to me about that day and when you heard saw your name called and being drafted at St. John.
Well, we were just sitting there on the couch, just watching our phones, and we saw St. John roll up, and we were like crossing our fingers. So turned out great. It was very exciting. It wasn't really a nice day out, so we didn't really get to go outside and celebrate, but it's all right.
There'll be plenty of celebrating to come this summer, I'm sure.
Exactly.
As people get to see each other once again. Now you're from New Brunswick, and you do have some experience playing with some fellow Sea Dogs who are also from New Brunswick, and Dawson Sayers and Peter Reynolds. Can you talk a little bit about your time with them?
Well, they're really great guys to be around. They push you to get better in the gym, on and off the ice, and they're just all around great guys.
Fantastic. And you played this most recent, was it the last season or last 2 seasons in Pittsburgh?
Last 2 seasons.
Last 2 seasons. So what? That's obviously kind of a unique route. A lot of guys, they'll go to kind of the New England area to play if they're going to go to the States, or like Shattuck St. Mary's or something like Michael D'Orazio. But how did you end up in Pittsburgh playing for the Penguins of all teams?
Well, I went to a spring hockey tournament with one of the teams, and they just said, like, come down, try out, see what it's like. So we did that, and then that's how it happened. But I really enjoyed it. It was great to get the experience of being away from home at that young age, just to get ready for this level,
If only you had your license at that time, you'd have pure freedom, right? $20 in your pocket and the world's yours.
Yeah.
So you obviously haven't played in New Brunswick in quite some time. So for fans here at home, how would you describe yourself as a player?
I'm a hardworking defensive defenseman, willing to go in the corners and battle for the puck and be the hardest worker on the ice.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. Well, Hunter, we're excited to have you show up at camp. It'll be a short drive for you, not your usual haul to Pittsburgh. So I'm sure you're looking forward to that. Any goals or kind of aspirations during this off season? Strength you want to improve? Anything with your game? Kind of what you have planned for when you show up to camp, whenever that starts?
Develop obviously speed and just lower extremity strength and overall stick handling, shooting, all that.
Improve all around. Perfect. Well, Hunter, thanks so much, and welcome back home, I would say.
Yeah.
And we're excited to have you as part of the organization, and we can't wait to see you at camp.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Thank you. Good New Brunswick guy, Hunter Gartley. Guys, that's a quick preview of good chunk of our 2020 draft class. We couldn't squeeze everyone in. I apologize to those of our new players that we missed, but we'll get you on in future episodes, I'm sure. We do have one last interview lined up. It's going to be with Team President and General Manager Trevor Georgie. Next week, we will get back to our typical alumni, paired up with a current Sea Dog. Let us know in the chat and the comments, email, tag us in something. Let us know who you would like to see on that show or any future shows. We got a couple different alumni lined up, so that'll be a nice surprise for people tuning in tomorrow. We'll probably launch who that's going to be for next Monday night's show, as well as our current Sea Dog as well will join us for a small little fun game as well at the tail end of that show. So I think Trevor is ready, so we will get into our final interview of the evening. Fans, I'm joined now by Team President and General Manager Trevor Georgie. Trevor, welcome back to the show. I believe you're a 3-time guest now. You lead the entire league in appearances on Monday Night Mics. Are you looking for co-host credits? Is that why you keep coming back?
I am absolutely.
I know a guy might be able to get you in.
Thanks.
But congratulations on another draft in the books. It's always, hard to say right off the bat. Was it a success, or did you get all the pieces you wanted until 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road when some of these guys debut and make their impact on the league? But what were your overall draft impressions when you woke up Sunday morning?
Yeah, we're really pleased with how our draft went. Each year is a bit different. Each year you're kind of strategically trying to do different things, and And then this year, what we set out to accomplish, was to add some size to our lineup and add some size throughout the organization and some depth in different positions. I mean, last year, I think Anthony and I laughed that last year, we were short on, I think, left shot D in the system, and then we drafted like 4 or 5 of them this year. So we were able to, I think, identify a couple areas going into the draft that we wanted to improve. And we think we have a couple, prospects we certainly got much later than we expected. So that's always a treat. But yeah, overall it was great. I mean, certainly not doing it live in the rink and having that whole show. I think it was Sherbrooke this year was hosting. They're pretty disappointed not having it there, but it's a different experience. But maybe just off the top, a big thank you to Anthony and all of our scouts for all the hard work they put in throughout the year. They're absolutely incredible what they do and very dedicated to their craft. And I mean, by name, Anthony, Sid, Sean, Wayne, Marco, Tristan, Justin have all contributed greatly. So thanks to them. It's their big day.
Yeah, it was a shame they couldn't be there. And you mentioned you kind of missed the show and the in-person stuff. And obviously that is a really fun part of the draft. But that didn't mean it wasn't any less stressful. I found like I was sitting there in the room with you and Anthony, and like the phone's ringing every 3 seconds. And okay, it's our pick, and we have 30 seconds, and there's countdowns aplenty. We had 15 different screens up. Like it's not you're not just sitting there like, oh, it's 3rd overall. Yeah, I guess we'll pick now. It's a pretty intense 2 days. Geez, it seemed to last quite a while. But did you feel, I know we talked going into the draft that we didn't really know, is it going to be more crazy, more trades of GMs, but just been, going stir crazy, that they're just waiting to pull the trigger? Did you find that it was kind of a quote unquote normal draft in terms of the amount of transactions and things, or did you find it was pretty busy this year?
Good question. I think it was consistent. I didn't think it was busier. It was a bit different because you did have some teams that were definitely, and some did obviously offload kind of, that 1-year star. Some teams did that. And some teams, I think, were looking to do that, but just didn't, just a lot of teams were reluctant to pay the price for the 1 year of a star when you don't really know what for your 1 year is 68 games or if it's 36 games or what it looks like. It's more challenging, I think, to sell at this point. I'm happy that we're not in that market, because I think it'd be pretty challenging, especially as teams spend. Teams like Valdor and PI already got out of the gates and spent quite a few of their assets. So I think that slowed things down for some of the team. Maybe the team looking to sell the big guns. I missed the on draft floor and that whole experience. I think it's a really good. I like that face-to-face combat for negotiation and for dealing with the other teams. But I mean, I think the thing that is probably maybe underappreciated across the industry is from head scouts and GM work is your preparation for like 95% of preparation for scenarios that 95% of the time never actually happen. So I think that preparation, regardless if it's online or if it's in person, you're prepared for all kinds of different scenarios, and I have to be ready to go because you're under a time crunch. So it felt like on Sunday that when you have too many screens open on your computer, and then on Sunday you've closed a couple screens and now you can think a bit more clearly. It certainly felt like that. I think I don't want to speak for Anthony, but certainly for me, it felt like a couple tabs were closed and you could start to open up some space to think through some other things.
And you talked about, 95% of the scenarios don't end up happening. And even sitting there, I mean, there was 3 or 4 trades off the top of my head that, calls came in and was like, hey, what about this? And you think about it, but all of a sudden a player you were looking at gets drafted right before your pick. Okay, that's off the table. And then the phone rings again. And you always kind of mention, like, if only people knew, 99% of the stuff that almost happened or almost occurred in these big blockbuster trades. But I mean, it was everything from, semi-blockbusters to, I'll trade you an 11th or a 10th sort of thing. But it's crazy the amount that, like you said, that happens in a draft day that doesn't actually come to fruition.
For sure.
So I do want to talk about one of the acquisitions we did make, and one of the trades we did make on that day was the acquisition of Anthony Pagliarulo, goaltender coming out of Chicoutimi. Can you talk a little bit about kind of maybe how that trade happened, what the plan was around that?
Yeah, we're looking for going to next season to have a platoon situation with Noah Patton and an older goalie to support him. And so looking around the league and looking at kind of prices that made sense for us and where we're at, and given one the kind of uncertainty around next season, so what are we prepared to spend, and two, the fact that we want to have that platoon situation. And a situation where each one pushes each one another. It made sense to go get a veteran goalie, a 20-year-old, but not necessarily spend the farm for it. And for Peg, I mean, he's played a number of years in the league. He's a serviceable goalie in this league. 20-year-old goalies, you certainly, from our experience in acquiring them, look at a guy like Boots that had been on we were his third team. That he landed on, and look at the season that he had, an MVP season for us. So I think 20-year-old goalies can provide a lot of stability for a team and give a team a chance to win every night. And for us to move back a couple spots with Shawinigan, pick up a seventh, still draft the player we wanted anyways, and then use that seventh to go get Peg, I think made a lot of sense for us. I know that for Peg, I think I know from speaking to him, he's really excited for the opportunity.
That's awesome. And I remember trying to come up with the trade graphics and stuff. I think we had that 7th-round pick for all of 12 minutes before it got swapped over. So kudos on that one. Another one of the trades that occurred was the trade with Valdor that involved Maxim Chaykovich. And then obviously that opens up different scenarios for our Euro draft that's coming up at the end of the month. Can you talk a little bit about that, kind of what we're looking at for the Euro draft and how that trade came to be?
Yeah, look, Max is a great player. Obviously, we took Max first overall in the import draft a few seasons ago. And we missed quite a bit of last season for us. And I think that did a few things. It allowed us to see that we could still get wins and still produce offensively. That wasn't our problem. Still score goals last year even without him in the lineup. And then we've added a lot of offensive pieces as well. That paired with the import draft coming up, and Max being a 1-year guy, again going back to kind of the uncertainty over this upcoming season, the length of season. All those different things surrounding kind of European players too, and borders. It just was an opportunity for us to replenish some picks that we had lost over the years for future years. Give Max a chance to go play, first line minutes with a team far away from us, but we don't have to face him game in, game out because he's a heck of a player. But also gives us a chance to replenish some of Max's offense through the import draft and have a player that could be here multiple seasons for us. This is probably as high as we're going to be picking in the import draft for a while. So to go have, 1 year of Max versus drafting a player where you get multiple seasons, it made a lot of sense for us. And look, we wish Max the best of luck. He was a very colorful personality. And I had a long chat with him last week after it all went down for about 40 minutes, just chatting with the future and that. So I look forward to Max, having a great career.
Me as well. Now we talked about the stress of draft day, and the Euro draft is kind of its own beast. I won't get into all that, but I do look forward to that. A little less stressful because it's only the 2 picks that every team has, but you're competing against 60 teams across the CHL on that one instead of just the 18 of the queue. So good luck with that. I don't envy your situation on that one. The last one I did want to touch on, just because this was something that's been coming up quite a bit over the last few weeks. Obviously, we ended the season with Jeff Cowan holding the interim head coach title. Can you just talk about kind of what's the current situation around the team's coaching?
Yeah, first, Jeff did a great job. Has done a great job as interim head coach. Him and Steph took the team on quite the ride. Early December and after Christmas. So they're doing a great job with the team. For us, for our coaching for next season, we're still in the process of deciding. There will be a third coach, in our mix here with Jeff and Steph. What that looks like, who that may be, and what the functions kind of each will be, yet to be determined. But something that we're looking at, and we're now that the draft is over, something we're looking at with a little bit more attention.
All right. Well, news that we'll be looking for in the coming weeks and seeing what happens. Well, I just want to say good luck in the upcoming Euro draft and the plans and things for our training camp, etc. I know people think the draft is done and summer begins, but that just means the work starts for players and staff alike. So good luck, and hope we'll see you in the office soon, I imagine.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, John.
No problem.
All right.
That was Sea Dogs President and General Manager Trevor Georgie. Guys, that's going to do it for our show this evening. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you to our guests, Leighton Carruthers, Nathan Drapeau, Simon Hughes, Michael D'Orazio, Davide Patella, Duncan Ramsay, and Hunter Gartley, and as well Trevor Georgie. You can check out this episode on YouTube or here on Facebook as well. And we'll be piecing out all those individual interviews as well, putting them all over social. So grab your favorite one, share it with your friends. Get the good word of Monday Night Mic'd out. I see a couple suggestions for future alumni you'd like to see on the show, Brett Gallant and Matthew Highmore. We will do our absolute best to keep the content rolling out for you guys. That's going to do it. We will see you next week, same time, same channel, Monday Night Mike, 7:30 right here on Facebook Live.